All right, let's get right into it because if you're a designer, or really anyone building things today, you've probably felt it. Something fundamental is changing. We're moving away from a world of just pure analysis and into a whole new era, an era of designing relationships, especially with AI.
For as long as most of us can remember, design has followed this very clean, very logical path. You've got a problem, you break it down, analyze it, and boom, you build a solution. It's a straight line. It's rational, it's how we've been taught, and honestly, it's worked incredibly well for a long time.
I mean, this simple but powerful blueprint is what built the entire digital world as we know it. It gave us all the software, the apps, the products that are predictable, reliable, and just work. It was the perfect model for a world that behaved like a well-oiled machine.
But then, generative AI came along. And it's not a predictable machine at all. It doesn't follow our neat little straight lines. It's probabilistic, it can be wildly surprising, and it is fundamentally shaking the very foundations of how we design. That old trusted blueprint? Yeah, it's starting to crack.
So that's kind of where we are now, standing here with this broken blueprint in our hands. Our traditional analytical tools suddenly feel clumsy, maybe even insufficient. It's like we're trying to measure a flowing river with a ruler, and it just isn't giving us the answers we need.
And this quote it nails it, doesn't it? AI doesn't tell you why it did something, it just tells you what was statistically probable. It's not a machine you operate, it's more like a force of nature, this powerful current that you have to navigate. So if our old logic is failing, where do we even begin to look for a new one?
Well, the breakthrough might actually come from a pretty profound shift in perspective, one that's inspired by East Asian philosophy. Instead of trying to force control on something uncontrollable, this approach is all about understanding the flows and designing the relationships between the user, the AI, and the world they both exist in.
So how do we take this big philosophical idea and make it, practical? How do we turn it into a toolkit? We can actually look at 5 core concepts from this way of thinking and reinterpret them as actionable strategies for designing in the age of AI.
First up is this idea of dependent origination. It sounds complex, but the core concept is actually super intuitive. Nothing is an island. Everything exists because of its relationship to everything else. It's all one giant interconnected web. You pull on one string and the whole thing vibrates.
And this describes the reality of AI perfectly. An AI tool is never just an app. It's a living, breathing, and honestly pretty fragile ecosystem. It's constantly being shaped by its training data, by our own biases, by the user's past interactions, even by how fast the internet is at that exact moment. It is all connected. So, and this is the really critical part, our role as designers has to shift. We can't be architects anymore, meticulously planning every single brick of a static building. We have to become more like gardeners. Our job isn't to place each flower perfectly, but to cultivate the soil, to tend to the whole living ecosystem and orchestrate the conditions for it to thrive.
Our second strategy is Wu Wei. Now, a lot of people mistakenly think this means doing nothing, but it's so much more subtle and powerful than that. It's about skillful, effortless action. It's about moving with the natural flow of things, not fighting against it. Think of a kayaker using the river's current instead of trying to paddle upstream. And if you've ever spent an hour fighting with an AI prompt, you know this feeling deep in your bones. The more you try to box it in with super rigid controlling commands, the more it freaks out. It resists, it hallucinates, it just gives you gibberish. You can't command it. You have to guide it.
So, the practical takeaway here is to learn to ride that current. We need to shift our mindset from controlling to steering. Instead of writing these massive, rigid design manuals, we should be creating flexible, rule-based fields that give the AI direction. Our prompts should feel more like gentle invitations than strict orders.
Okay, our third concept is the unity of self and world. This one is the idea that the hard line we draw between me, the user, and it, the tool, is really just an illusion. When you're truly in the zone, a great tool doesn't feel separate. It feels like an extension of you.
This slide really captures that evolution. For years, we talked about human-computer interaction, HCI, where a person uses a tool. But we're now moving into an era of human-AI coexistence, or HCX, where the AI is less of a separate tool and more like a prosthetic for your consciousness. It's a seamless bridge for your own thoughts.
And that means we have to design things totally differently. We have to move way beyond the simple click a button, get a response model. The future is about designing for subtle signals and unspoken intent. Really, the goal is to make the AI feel less like a clunky piece of software and more like a really smart, intuitive colleague who just gets you.
Fourth on our list, the doctrine of the mean. Now, this isn't about finding some lazy, static compromise in the middle. Not at all. It's about the wisdom to find the right balance, the appropriate response for each unique situation. It's a constant, skillful dance of adjustment. In a world where AI models are trained on messy, biased human data, this becomes a designer's new superpower. Let's be honest, perfect neutrality is a fantasy. So our job becomes being a moderator, a balancer. We have to constantly weigh things like personalization against privacy, or capability against safety. The goal isn't some impossible correctness. It's a sustainable, healthy equilibrium.
And our final strategy is inspired by the idea of emptiness, or what we might call negative space. Think about a beautiful ink wash painting. The empty space on the paper is just as important as the brushstrokes. It's the void that gives the art room to breathe and invites you, the viewer, to participate in it.
Now this is a huge mental shift for most of us. The idea of a pixel-perfect, completely finished interface is actually becoming an anti-pattern. It's too rigid. It leaves no room for the AI to adapt. Instead, we have to start designing empty vessels, flexible structures that the AI can fill in based on the user's immediate context. We have to intentionally leave space for the magic to happen.
So where does all this leave us? It leads us to a new kind of designer, what we could call the bifocal designer. And this isn't about throwing away all our old skills. It's about adding a new lens, learning how to see the world with two eyes at once.
We absolutely still need that Western eye, the eye of logos. We need that analytical breakdown, that structural rigor. But now we have to pair it with the Eastern eye, the eye of Sophia, which gives us relational oversight, an understanding of flow, and the wisdom to make contextual judgments. They aren't in conflict. They make each other more powerful.
And this really brings us to the core takeaway. As AI gets better and better at the raw mechanics of problem solving, our unique, irreplaceable value as human designers starts to shift. What we have to protect, what we have to cultivate, is something deeper. It's the aesthetics of relation, the art of creating harmony between people, technology, and the world.
So, the final question I want to leave you with isn't just about what tools you're going to use or what you're going to build next. It's a much deeper question. In this new world we're all stepping into, how will you design the aesthetics of relation?